Hey guys, Sam Review here. So this does not get demonetized. YouTube, this is history. This happened. Please do not demonetize me. If you don't know, Anne Boleyn is killed. There, I'm going to say it. Killed. So here we go. No copyright infringement intended. I do not own this. Here we go. Spring 1521. I could hear the roll of the muffled drums, but I could see nothing in front of me but a lace bonnet little lady standing in front of me, blocking my view of the scaffold. I had been at this court before a year and attended 100 of these festivals, but never before like this. By stepping to one side a little and craning my neck, I could see the condemned man, accompanied by his priest, walking slowly from the tower towards the green, where the wood pallet formed was waiting. Block of wood placed center stage. The executioner dressed was ready for his work in his shirtless sleeves, with a black hood over his head. It looked more like a masochist than a real event. And I watched it as if it was a court entertainment, a king sitting on his throne looking distracted, as if he was running through his speech, forgiving his in his head. Behind him stood my husband of 1 year, William Carey, my brother, George, and my father, Sir Thomas Boleyn, looking grave. I wiggled my toes inside my silk slippers and wished the king would hurry up and grant clemency so that we could all go to breakfast. I was only 13 years old. I was always hungry. Duke of Buckinghamshire, far away from the scaffold, put off his thick coat. He was close enough to kin for me to call him uncle. He had come to my wedding, giving me a gilt bracelet. My father told me he had offered the king a dozen ways. He had royal blood in his veins. He kept 2 large refuge of armsmen for comfort of a king, yet wholly secure on his throne. Worst of all, he was supposed to have said that the king would have no sons heir now. He could get no sons and heir. That would be likely to die without a son to succeed him to the throne. Such thought must not be said aloud. The king, the court, the whole county knew a boy must be born to the queen, and born soon. To suggest otherwise would be the first steps of the path that would lead you to the wooden steps of the scaffold, which the Duke, my uncle, now climbed firmly and without fear. A good courtier never refrains from an unpalatable truth. Life or court should always be merry. Uncle Stafford came in front of the stage and said his final words. Too far from him to hear, in my case, was watching the king, waiting for his cue to step forward, and offered his royal pardon. The man standing on the scaffold in the sunlight in the early morning had been the king's partner in tennis, his rival in jousting field, his friend of hundreds of bouts of drinking and gambling, and their comrade since the king was a boy. The king was teaching him a lesson, a powerful public lesson. And then he would forgive him, and we could all go to breakfast. Little faraway figure turned his confessor. He bowed his head, blessing a kissed rosary, knelt before the block, clasped both hands. I wondered what it must be like to put one's cheeks smooth as waxed wood, to smell the warm wind coming off the river to hear overhead the cry of the seagulls, to even know, as he did, what this was a massacre. Nothing was real. It was odd for my uncle to put his head, and now, knowing the executioner was standing behind it, the executioner raised his axe, looked towards the king, leaving a no intervention. It was late. I glanced back at the stage, my uncle's head down, flung his arms away as a sign of contempt. His signal, the axe, could fall. I looked back to the king. He must have risen to his feet by now, but he still sat there, his handsome face grim. And while I was looking towards him, There was a roll of drums, suddenly silence, and a thud of the axe. For once, and then a third time, sound of domestic as the chopping of wood. Disbelieving, I saw the head of my uncle bouncing on the straw, a scarlet gush of blood, and the strange hump neck. The black hood axeman put great stain on the axe to one side, lifted the head, curly hair, so we could all see the strange mask-like thing, black from the blindfold, forehead and nose, teeth bared, last grin. The king rose slowly from his seat. I thought childishly, dear God, how embarrassing, awfully embarrassing this is going to be. He has left it too late. All has all gone wrong. He forgot to speak in time, but I was wrong. He did not leave it for too late. He did not forget. He wanted my uncle to die before the court, so everybody would know that there was only one king, and that was Henry. There could only be one king, and that was Henry. And there should be a son born to the king, suggest otherwise meant shameful death. The court returned quietly to Westminster Palace, and 3 barges rowed up the river. Men on the riverbank pulled off their hats and kneeled as the royal barge went swiftly by. On the second barge was the ladies' court of the Queen's barge. My mother was seated near me. In a rare moment of interest, she glanced at me and remarked, "You look pale. Very pale, Mary. Do you feel sick?" "I didn't think he would be executed," I said. I thought the king would forgive him." My mother leaned forward so that her mouth was on my ear and no one could hear us, over the creaking sound of the boat and the beat of the rowers' drums. "Then you're a fool," she said shortly, "and a fool to remark it. Watch and learn, Mary. There is no room for mistakes at court." And that was the beginning of The Boleyn Girl. Talk to y'all later, so move you out.